All right. First and foremost, we gonna say all praises be to
Yeah.
Yahweh,
Yahweh
Bashem,
Shem Yahweh Shai
Yahweh Shai, Bashem
Shem
Mukadash.
Kakadash.
And then we're gonna say double honors to the apostles and unto the elders of great millstone. Shalom to the sincere, I mean, elect teaching the truth, man. And kind, like in this video, this video, we just go into to some uh kind of history, and of Esau's, dark past. And the thing is, in terms of Esau, now they trying to act like they're the people of righteousness. They're such a moral people. But again, all people on earth can give you multiple examples of wickedness that's taken place to them from the hands of Esau. You know, and then, but then again, now when you expose these things, you know, I would say it's a, um, a conspiracy, or the past is the past. Let the past
Mm.
go. You know, and it's like, hey, it's part more. It's more so part of that, like, a shameful spirit. But
Yeah.
because a lot of this, because a lot of this was able to be hid for a very long time. But now through the spirit of uh, brothers doing the videos on YouTube and such, basically everything is being exposed, man, like on another level.
Yeah. Can I
You
grab a
see?
quick precept?
Yep.
Because you said there will be like, yo, it's in the past. This is Ecclesiastes 3:15. That which hath
Hmm.
been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. The most I require of that which is past.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So all your past sins and sins that you're doing now, man, in the present, because best believe all manner of evil and wickedness is still taking place, man. You
Mm.
know what I mean? But then what I mean, and it's which is why you know that's your scripture speaks about him being consumed by the spirit of his mouth, which are the Lord's men,
Mm-hmm.
because brothers as a body, we cover everything.
Yeah, yeah,
One brother might go into the food history and his dark past. One brother might go into the British Empire and their wickedness. Yeah, basically everything, man. You know,
that's it.
you know. Um, I've got a preset. This is oh, it says Habakkuk 2:16. Thou art filled with shameful glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spirit upon thy glory. You know what I mean? And it's like normally whenever we bring this out, our main focus is, I mean, is on like on Babylon, but then also obviously it applies onto to Esau in general, because Canadians, I mean, as a people, those that are so-called white, they have a more, you know, positive look compared to the so-called white men in Babylon, which is America. But they're Edomites too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of like how, like over here, the British Edomites have a positive kind of image, which when they're devils too. Sorry, bro.
It's like, yeah, I was gonna say, but then PR has you believing, yeah, the Canadians, they're so
Hmm.
kind, they're so this, but it's like, nah, they're devils too.
Straight up, yeah. So that's why everything, what I mean, about him is being exposed, and he can't hide himself. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Everything is being exposed, man. He can't hide himself, man. You know. In fact, before we get the more precepts, let's set the tone with the video.
Yep.
Yep, and then we branch out. Obviously, this Jake is going into it. I mean, his hair's a bit long, but uh, especially them dreads. But
Okay.
hey, let's
Good
go into it.
morning. Here's a moment in white history. Have you ever wondered how we found out the proper amount of vitamins, nutrients, minerals, or calories we needed to consume in a day in order to survive? You can thank Dr. Lionel Bradley Pett, who found out exactly what it took to keep the human body alive by starving native children to death. The experiments were performed by the Department of Indian Affairs of Canada under the direction of two physicians. One, Dr. Percy Moore.
You see, it's like, which is why the scripture says, "Behold, the soul is lifted up; it's not upright in it," because there are different, various ways you can do research.
Mm.
What does Esau say? I'm a starve these native children unto death,
Mm.
or keep them severely malnourished, to just research, man.
Yeah.
That's what Esau does. But it- Esau will cause wars and sterilize people just for the purposes of research. He will like bomb and destroy a whole country solely for the purposes of research. But that's his spirit, man. Right?
Yeah, and so like I was gonna say as well, it's like there was no need for this.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is man was living before this research needed to be done, right?
Hmm.
Man was, going out, he was plowing, he was doing this, he was doing that, but he's
Hmm.
just the devil, and
He's
these are
just
the
a devil.
same, but yeah, but then they'll look back and they'll point at these things and be like, oh, you know, look at how great, um, look at how great our history. Without us, you wouldn't have history. This is just one of the crimes, right? The
Again.
amount of experimentation in that particular part of history that didn't need to be done. It's like, what were you doing? Was it like
Hmm.
Alfred Kinsey, right? And you can look in. I think it's Alfred Kinsey. You can look into his crimes, right? But you know, it's one of them ones where it's just, yeah, American sexologists and biologists, right? And, this man, I'll just put it like this, man. This man queried at what age do you start having orgasms, and
Wow.
exactly how he tested that. Man's a damn devil, man.
Hey, bro. That's one of our next videos, bro. Let's go into that. Let's expose
Yep.
them like on all levels, man. Because again, you know, he, you know, they have this, you know, image of righteousness. In fact, I got a quick precept. This is 2 Corinthians 11 and 14. And no marvel, for Satan himself will transform into an angel of light. You know what I mean? And it's like it's really like that. And multiple groups of people are still suffering from the consequences of the dark past in which you cause unto them, and really the current evil that's still taking place. But when we um, complain about it, when we speak about it, they say, "Oh, you're still thinking of the past and living in the past." That's how that this man, has to be taken out, man. And that's exactly what is going to happen. You know, Go ahead, bro.
That's it. So back in the video.
The Indian Affairs Branch Superintendent of Medical Services, and Dr. Frederick Tisdale, a famed nutritionist and former president of the Canadian Pediatric Society. The First Nations nutrition experiments, as they were called, were a series of experiments run in Canada by the Department of Pensions and National Health, now known as Health Canada, in the 1940s and 50s. At the lowest estimates, these experiments were conducted on at least 1,300 indigenous people, with at least 1,000 of them being children. In these experiments, parents were not informed, nor was their consent given. In the 1940s, Canadian officials became aware that Native children in these residential schools were malnourished. So the Canadian government sent researchers to figure out why these Indigenous children were malnourished. Meanwhile, this evil bastard wanted to know what the recommended intake for different vitamins and minerals should be. He saw the hunger and malnutrition at residential schools as an opportunity to figure out just what the human body needed to survive. So in 1947, he began conducting experiments on about 1,000 children in 6 residential schools across the country. Instead of giving these innocent children food to treat their malnutrition, he gave them supplements like riboflavin and thiamine to see if it would mitigate these problems. It did not. In another experiment, instead of giving these innocent children food to eat, he gave them pieces of enriched bread, thinking that that would improve their malnutrition. It did not. They became...
And what's interesting on the point he made on the enriched bread is because that enriched bread is what we still have to this very day. You know what I mean? Because like there's you know, breads that might say, oh, with more B12 or more vitamin B or whatever it is. That's just artificial vitamins that have been, you know, pushed into your body, man. You know what I mean? And it's like Esau's done stuff like compare natural vitamins or minerals in food under the microscope and natural vitamin, and artificial vitamins under the microscope. And the natural ones from the fruits and vegetables has life like under the microscope. But the artificial ones, it just got like, you know, it's pale, you know what I mean? It's dull. You know what I'm saying? That's how much of a devil that this man is, man. He will strip real vitamins from food and add his stuff in later. Right? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Became anemic and they died. Even though indigenous children were dying, they still continued these experiments. Most of these innocent children were so malnourished that their teeth would fall out, but they wouldn't take them to a dentist because they wanted to see the effects of malnutrition on gum health. Over 1,000 indigenous children were starved to death in these residential schools, and the experiments kept going.
And bro, that's perfectly fine to Esau. His sleep is not like you know, when Jake when Jake do evil, you know, even if Jake try to act like they're all good about it. So Jake is really tossing and turning at night because naturally Jake got conscious. But in terms of Esau, like, you know what I mean, like it doesn't even make him blink.
That's it.
You know, like it doesn't even make him blink, man.
That's it.
You know, go ahead.
Why? Because they were already marginalized and vulnerable. Nobody was looking out for the best interest of these children. They had no voice and no one to advocate for their best interest. It's because of the starvation and deaths of innocent indigenous children that we now know exactly how many calories, vitamins, nutrients, and minerals the human body needs to stay alive. And that's how the death...
Yeah, so they, you know what is deep about this? It shows you that even in the smallest thing, well, you think, you know what I mean, it's cool, you know, have a 10 milligrams of vitamin C or have whatever it is of vitamin this, vitamin that. That even in itself, right, was based upon the death and starvation of our people, bro.
That's it.
He could have found basically other ways to research this. Sorry, bro.
It's a lot, but it was that point that he made at the end, that Jake made at the end, right, where that is ultimately the spirit of these E's, because he said, well, and I know he was saying it jokingly, but he was saying, and it's because of that we now know how many calories you need. But he will point to that. he will point
Yeah.
to that as being like, actually, that is a good advancement for science. Same way that he experiments. Sorry, you got it, bro.
No, no, go.
Or the same way he experimented on Eve, right, without anesthetic to build the whole thing on gynecology, right?
Mm.
You know, but that's this man. Fee.
Yep. Yep. And the craziest thing is, your average E that might hear about this. You know what the response will be now? Well, if it wasn't for what we did, how would you know um what vitamins and minerals to take? You know what I'm saying? Like that's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Like they will
Oh,
actually say, if it wasn't for us doing this to them, you know, you wouldn't know what vitamins and minerals to take, man.
but so like, can would you call it that? Do you remember that story your folks told you about how they learned what certain
Oh yeah,
fruits were,
oh yeah, yeah,
poison,
yeah,
this, that, and the other,
yeah.
right? You know, point basically being, it's like, I don't know if you want to tell the story or.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So basically, the story goes, I was talking to one uncle who was from a village when he was a kid where like he had no electricity. He didn't have a fridge or whatever, and they basically used to live off of the land. So then I asked him in terms of the herbs and things that they took for their health. How would they know which is poisonous and which one isn't? And he said that the main people who were the best kind of herbalists was hunters, because the, the hunters would observe the certain roots and stuff that they would eat, and those that they would stay away from, and by that they they would avoid ones that were poisonous. And now, of
Mhm.
course, there are animals out there that can eat poisonous, veggies, but still, it just shows you there's different ways of acquiring wisdom, man. You know,
Exactly. Exactly. Can
you
I
know.
grab this real quick on that? This
Yep.
is Proverbs 6:6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her
Mm,
ways and be wise. You know,
mm,
basically go and observe certain things from from the animals and this and the other. Right. Once again, the point just being like, look, there are other ways of obtaining information. Once again, man was around. You
mm.
know, man was we were eating. We would you call it? Well, in fact, we had the scriptures.
Yeah. Even with Daniel, remember the
Yeah,
fast of Daniel? They compared which food was better, and even this, with vitamins. Like you have two types of vitamins. You got water soluble vitamins and fat soluble ones. The water ones, the way it works is that your body will absorb what it needs, and then what it doesn't need, it passes out through, uh, you know, going to the toilet. So it's like even in nature, the Lord has made it, because basically everyone's, let's say, vitamins and nutrients are very, like, in terms of what your body needs is different, because everyone's like is a different height, a different weight, whatever it may be. But even in that, the Lord has made it whereby if you eat, if you just leave the food to just be what it is, people will just still get their daily recommended vitamins and nutrients, man.
exactly.
Which with these daily recommended vitamins and nutrients, they've changed many times over time. You know, it's changed many times over time. Hey, even recently, you had uh, uh, that dude uh, RFK speaking
Mhm.
about the food pyramid, and it's funny because there's an episode of South Park where they're saying, oh, the whole country like isn't healthy, blah blah blah, and it was based upon the food pyramid, and he said turn the food pyramid upside down, and people started getting healthy again. It's like the food pyramid that they have now is totally different from what our parents had in the 70s. You see, and now the same foods that they were saying back then, is fine, cause so many health problems. This guy's the devil. I have a precept. This is uh Proverbs 4:14. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. A- Avoid it, pass by, pass not by it, and from it, turn from it, and pass away. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. That's Esau, bro.
Mm.
Because it's like you hear of certain experiments, things that they do. You're like, bro, you really didn't have to do that,
Exactly.
and that's in multiple things. Like to just experiment on, oh, let's sterilize the people. Why would you do that?
Mm.
And again, you will see a big example. Sorry, the main people that he's done this to. I mean, he's done this to all people, but it's always mainly Jake.
Yeah.
You know.
And in fact, on that, if I can, what do you call it? Grab this real quick. This is Ezekiel 35:5. Right. It says,
Yeah.
because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So you see there perpetual hatred, right?
Yep.
That word goes into like of antiquity, right? When you look into that word. So this man has hated us from since that, and he has no issue shedding our blood, right? That's why he can, you know, that's how basically he can speak so loftily, right, against all of the things that he has done to Jake. Oh well, were it not for this experimentation, we wouldn't have understanding of X, Y, Z. It's like, no, that wasn't the way to do it. That wasn't for you to decide, but that's just who he is, right? Because even now I'm thinking they say that what you call it, these lot experimented, so-called experiment on them small hats, right? But
Yeah.
those things won't be, they won't just sweep that under the rug, right?
Hmm.
They'll keep bringing it on. Look at what they did to us, right? But look at what actually happened to Jake, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
None of
Yeah.
none of the things associated with us is conspiracy. It's fact. It's recorded fact,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And the thing about it is that he can't handle when he's shown the mirror. You
Mm,
know what I mean? It's like when Jake do something. It's, oh well, yeah, black on black crime and blah 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 and blah blah blah. It's funny, yeah. You know, bro, brothers might think we've got stats. Esau got stats.
mm,
Whenever the time it comes to him get exposed or exposing Jake, it's like, well, 10% of blah 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 blah, and giving all different kind of reasons
mm.
on Jake. You know,
That's it. Accuser of the brethren, isn't it?
bro.
But it's just.
No, I was gonna
No,
say,
I was. Oh,
can
sorry,
you
go on.
hold um, Daniel 9 and 12, probably sure.
Hmm.
But yes, sorry, go and speak.
Yeah, no, I was because even a stat that I actually didn't realize, because I just asked the other day, it's like, yo, what's the Jake? How many Jakes in the American military, right? And basically, Jake is ever so slightly overrepresented, right? And
Mm,
that's northern and southern kingdom, right?
yeah,
Basically, when you look at the stats of just
mm,
like how many of them are in the military, yeah, that's a stat you never hear, right?
Mm.
They want to tell you they're 13% of the population, but they commit this much crime. Which, when you dig into all of that sort of stuff, Jake is more likely to get arrested, right?
Exactly.
What do you call it? Jake is more likely to be wrongly arrested, right?
Yep.
All of these different things, and so just leaving that aside, right? They never talk about the fact that Jake is overrepresented in the military. Why? Because it doesn't fit their narrative. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. It's true. It's true.
Got the one
Go
you
ahead,
call
man. Yep.
Daniel 9 and 12, and he hath confirmed his words which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem.
Yeah, it's real. It's dark, bro. Like it's real dark. Like if we go, deep into what he's done and what he does and what he's caused, if we look at what's happening onto Jake, there's really no comparison. You know what I mean? There's
Mm.
really no comparison, bro. Get a few of the brothers precepts on the
Yeah,
comment.
yeah, some good presets,
Some good
Thawada.
precepts. What
Um,
up?
Okay, so let's get into some of these, right? This is Micah 2 and 1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity, work evil upon their beds. On the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand.
Yeah,
Verse 2.
it's in the power of their hand. Remember, Job 9:24 says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. You know what I mean? It's like he has the power upon the earth, and in theory, he's supposed to work righteousness. But really and truly, we understand that he's the seed of the wicked, and he would have never set up to do righteousness. Really, he's doing what he's supposed to.
Mhm.
But when you expose it, he gets mad. You know? Go ahead.
Yep. Goes on to say, um, they cover fields and take them by violence, which is what you're seeing right now all over all over the world, right?
Hmm.
Reports, they're trying to stick it on Cuba right now, trying to
Hmm.
stick it on Greenland, they've been sticking it on Palestine, and
Hmm.
even there are reports right now. You've got a build up, around Iran. Okay, but
Hmm.
that's their thing, right? It says, and take them by violence and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
Hmm.
Um, Therefore, thus saith the Lord power. The Lord Jehovah says, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughty, for this time is evil.
Yeah, and eventually, you know, that's why Babylon the Great, which is America, is going to be destroyed, and also why E- Esau as a people, they're going to be taken out of rulership, man.
Hmm.
The scripture says in due time the Lord will set over one that is profitable,
That's
right?
it.
Because he's not profitable unto the earth.
Mm.
You know, you know what I mean. He's really not. He's really not profitable to the earth, man. All he does is work wickedness, man. And even on something basic as this, vitamins and minerals. Like now, you and my ask chat. How many IU of vitamin D am I supposed to have? Oh, la 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 la. Even that history itself was based upon the death and destruction of our people,
Mm.
and it's like it's deep. Like everything's deep. Like whether it be this water bottle, whether it be these phones, whether it be damn a tissue, there's wickedness that we can find in all of it. Even damn Bluetooth headphones.
Mhm,
You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? It's
mhm,
like there's
mhm.
everything. You know, that's why the scripture says, even though, you know, it's like it's real. That's why the scripture says, let favor be shown to the wicked, and yet he will not learn righteousness.
That's it. That's it.
In the land of the upright, he won't behold the majesty of the Lord. And if that's in the land of righteousness, how much more the earth?
Yeah, it's
You
the
know?
spirit. I was looking for those presets.
Yeah,
Or what
that's
we'll
it,
call
man.
it as a spirit. Yeah.
Yep, man.
Damn, I should have a preset came to remember. I lost it now. But yeah, no, everything Bo's going into, man. It's this man. He's just he's just doing too much. Oh, that's it. This is Jeremiah 13:23. Can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard his spots? Then may he also do good that are accustomed to do evil. Right?
Yep, fantastic.
And mm,
That's it. Yeah, yeah, no, go on, bro.
yeah, no, I was just saying, and that's ultimately what it is. You ultimately understand. You're just fulfilling your lot. You're just fulfilling your lot. So it's just like, yo, the Lord ultimately is gonna has been letting you run up a tab, right, all of this time, right? Because scripture says this, let's grab that as well, right? So
Mm,
Ecclesiastes 8, right, and 11, right? It says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the
mm,
heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil, right? And
mm.
that's it, you know.
Yep, that's exactly it. I can't remember.
With the precepts on the common board, or
Yeah, but we'll shout because there's some good scriptures in there, and then we're gonna go into the other articles.
okay. So let's grab some of these. It says Amos 1 and 11. It says, thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all a pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. But
And
I will
and
send.
and and, and even this way of experiments is a way of pursuing his brother, with a sword, even through
Mm,
his sights. Because at the end of the day, all this is done. They might say for the purposes of research, but really it's how to destroy the people of the Lord.
y- y-
Because at the end of the day, if he can research what minerals you need, then he can just make sure the food you eat doesn't have those minerals.
mm.
So, sorry, bro. Good.
Yeah, no, because I was gonna say, because it's like, how is it then, right? We did all this research, right? We know exactly how much people are supposed to eat, how much is supposed to do this, how much is supposed to do that. Why is men's testosterone lower than their grandparents, right?
Exactly.
Why is it that a lot of women now have issues associated with their menstrual cycle?
Yep.
All of these different things, right? Let me just double confirm something before I say it,
Mm,
because I came across something the other day.
mm,
uh yeah, but yeah, no, it was would you got something else, but yeah, no, it's the thing. It's like you got all of these different issues throughout the world, right? But we're supposed to be smarter now, right?
mm.
Which goes to show you that if let's say he did actually do this experimentation, his aim was to then lie to you about it. Oh yeah, we've done the test, mate, right? You don't need that much vitamin D. So
Yep.
then these times you're operating on significantly less than you actually need, you know
Exactly.
especially with all of these office jobs. You're under this fluorescent lighting, right?
Yep.
Under, instead of actually being out there in the field, right? And even people look down on that, right? That's why they look
Yeah.
down on dark skin, right? In certain parts
Yeah.
of the world, because it means that you've been out in the field, right? I.e., oh, this is a poor person, you know.
Yeah. Even vitamin D. Even if you go into the research of vitamin D, bro, there's there's um there's there's points in history whereby they prescribed a certain amount of vitamin D, and basically it was working too well. People was barely getting sick. You know, people was barely getting sick with taking that daily recommended amount of vitamin D at the time. So you know what the health companies did? You know how you got something called international units, like
Hmm.
10,000 IU or whatever, right? They basically changed it to inflate to have an appearance of inflating the numbers. So basically, even though um 10,000 IUs might just be 1 milligram, but because it has a 10,000, it sounds scary. You know what I mean? It sounds scary.
And,
You know?
and to build off what the brother's saying, that's why you've got that geezer. What's one of the things he says? Oh, what the fuck, man. William Gates, right? He basically had a
Yeah.
book saying line with statistics, right? Because they understand the psyche of men. Because bro was right. It's like if you're hearing 10,000, you're thinking, oh shit, that's a lot. Whereas actually, no, it's just 1 milligram, isn't it? Right. And then
Yeah.
the reason why I brought that up is he does that with what do you call it, per capita, as an example. He will be like, yeah, but these, what you call these men from this part of the world are per capita more likely to, commit certain crimes. But then you
Yeah.
actually look at it as whole numbers, and it's like 20,000 Edomites and like 40 Pakistanis and that. But then yeah,
Yeah.
but per capita though, and it's like, bro, this man's a devil.
Yeah. You know. So it's like now you have it where people might hear taking 10,000 international units of vitamin D, and like, bro, that's too much, man. Blah blah blah. When these times, if you go and look up how much vitamin D your body absorbs just walking around in the morning sun, is double. It's not even double. It's like anywhere from like 50,000 to 100,000 units. You know, but then if you go and take that, it's dangerous. You know, but then
That's it.
again, the point was they did that to just basically get people shook, thinking that they're taking more than they really are. You know,
That's
the
it.
history on that. You know, all right, yeah, carry on, bro. With what the brother posted.
Yeah, so back in Amos 1 and 12 now, it says, but I will send a fire upon Teman, which shall devour the palaces of Bosra.
Mm, yeah.
And then let's grab Isaiah 14 and 20. It says, thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy
Hmm.
people. The seed of evildoers will never be renowned. Verse
Yeah,
22.
yeah, and guess what? Look, it was beautiful when that comes to pass, because again now he's a minister of righteousness. He's so white, he's so pure. When all he's done is brought darkness onto the earth.
Mm.
You know. All right, Khan. Let's go into the other articles, Bubble Show.
So this is from CBC .ca. Right, it says the dark history of Canada's food guide: how experiments on Indigenous children shape nutrition policy. Right, um, and this is it. This is 1948. Right,
Hmm.
so that basically means that what 76, 70 what? So yeah, 78 years ago almost. Right, but this is the reason I'm trying to I'm pointing that out is just he likes to push this idea that when it comes to Jake's history, that this was several hundred years ago. He makes it
Hmm.
seem like this was a bygone era, right? But
Hmm.
these times, what do you call it? We have family members that are this age,
Yep.
still living and breathing. Okay,
Yep.
so it says, when historian Ian Mosby published evidence that the Canadian government had conducted a nutritional experiments on Indigenous children in residential schools, his findings made headlines across the country. His academic article, Administering Colonial Science, published
See
in
again,
2013.
colonialism. You know.
Hmm?
Sorry.
Yep. It says Mosby revealed how nutritional studies and experiments were performed in indigenous communities and residential schools in the 40s and 50s, right?
Hmm.
And they did a lot of wickedness in them schools, man.
A lot
Right?
of.
You got that story of Elizabeth and Philip, right? The
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
a queen, or old Queen of England, how they went there to one of them schools, And then after that, the Utes weren't certain Utes. You never saw certain Utes again.
Yeah. Even that term, um,
Kids, yeah,
kill, no, the term that goes kill the Indian and save the man. So basically, you take away from their culture, strip away their heritage completely. So changing their names to basically stray far away from their history. You know, go ahead.
yep, that's it. So it goes on to say the tests were apparently done, explained Mosby, without the informed consent or knowledge of the indigenous people involved. What
Hmm.
is yet widely known, said Mosby, a professor of historian at Ryerson University, is how these experiments are directly connected to Canada's food guide.
Hmm.
Government policies were creating conditions of hunger. In the 40s, federal bureaucrats found that malnutrition was widespread in indigenous communities and residential schools. But this wasn't new information to many indigenous people. Indigenous people had been arguing for a long time that the kids were hungry in residential schools. That
Yeah,
go,
yeah, yeah, big, yeah. Is and who is this hunger caused by? By Esau. Even the fact even the fact you stole their land essentially.
mm,
You know, when it was the fact that when your foreparents came to Babylon and Canada and all these places, we taught you how to live
yeah.
and how to protect your damn health. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a bit of history they don't like to talk about. They love saying, they like throwing that what's the word? That savage word around, right? When you look
Yeah,
into the history around, I think it's Jamestown,
yeah,
right? Basically, it goes into how when they exhumed some of the bones and stuff like that, the historians exhumed some of the bones, right? They saw that the bones had quote markings consistent with cannibalism, right?
yeah,
Because that's
yeah,
basically what these Edomites resorted to because they weren't going to survive, right? So then they started eating. But guess what? Jake, in compassion, was like, "Hey, look, man, I will help you out." And how did you repent? That's what I said. You know, I forget how it's phrased, but basically, you put your hand against such as be at peace with thee.
yeah. And guess what? Hey man, this is another video. Fucking Esau man is a migrant. Esau is a migrant. He's a
Chief
migrant.
migrant. Hey, well, in fact, let's look up that word because isn't that word vagabond?
Yeah,
Yeah, a person who wanders from place to place without a home or job.
that's Esau. He's a migrant. You see, brothers? We just had to remember. I'm joking, but not like he's a migrant, bro. Here is he's calling everyone else a migrant when he's the biggest migrant.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that migrants. You're a migrant, even in this modern history, modern time.
Mm,
Why are you in America?
exactly.
You know, why are you in Canada? Why are you in Australia? And on top of that, I mean, obviously we can go, deeper spiritually in terms of them, being in Europe and thinking Europe's their land or whatever. But just in this modern history, he's in many places that he shouldn't be. Your place is Mount Seir. You know, you know what I mean? Go ahead, bro.
Yep. So it goes on to say, uh, yeah, so the Canadian government began to send researchers to examine these conditions of hunger. In many cases, the researchers found severe malnutrition, said Mosby. Some federal bureaucrats and scientists saw the pervasive malnutrition and hunger experienced by Indigenous people as an opportunity to test their scientific theories.
Yeah, and
Right?
and, and again, remember the being malnourished isn't just you just malnourished. You have health complications that come in many ways.
Mm,
You might have bad heart palpitations. You might have severe arthritis. Your mind might not be functioning properly. You might start hallucinating and seeing shit.
mm,
It could be endless. It could be endless. So people would just, it's not a big deal. Nah, bro, this was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
He thought it was perfectly normal.
Can I
Yep.
grab this precept real quick?
Yep.
This is Lamentations 4 and 9. They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these
Mm,
pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field. All right. So these
see,
were
that's a
tortured.
bad point. Mm. That's basically a mode of torture.
Mhm.
You know, carry on, bro.
Yep. So continuing on, it says, so it says Lionel Pett. Right, the Federal Nutritional Service Division was established in 1941 under the leadership of a medical doctor and biochemist named Lionel Pett. Pett was a
Mm,
major player, right, in setting nutritional standards and policy in Canada, said Mosby. Scientific
mm,
questions were often on Pett's mind, explained Mosby. Questions like what the daily recommendation intake for different minerals and vitamins and minerals should be. But there was controversy over how to determine dietary standards, said Mosby, and it was challenging to do the kinds of studies that were needed to test Pett's questions. Right?
mm,
So it's really difficult to do these kinds of experiments because you need hungry people, said Mosby. Right? But once again, you how did we know?
exactly.
How do people in in quote unquote secluded communities, how are they able to survive?
Hmm.
You know, because ultimately
Hmm.
when you eat, you're not really. I mean, one could argue, I speak, I don't say this, but so one can argue, you're not even supposed to care about every specific trace mineral, whatever. It's just supposed to be in your food,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
You're supposed to eat some fruit and then you're good.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's like, if you are going to do experiments, you could have done an experiment on sick people, on sick people who are already sick, and just tested what vitamins and nutrients are lacking in them. You know what I mean? But in terms of starving people, bro, you didn't need to do that. And the thing is as well, like, remember when children are a certain age, yeah, you have something called a f- formative age.
Mm,
You know what I mean? You got something called a formative age. So the thing with a formative age is that um your 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 body's being built up in it.
that's it.
You know what I mean? So like, I mean, if you have certain nutritional problems and stuff as a child, and it's not handled, it can carry on like affecting you for the rest of your life. So let's say they was doing it to kids who were 5, 6, or 7, when that's when they need the best food or whatever. He was in fact starving them and giving them fucking artificial minerals, man.
Mm,
You know, because he's the devil,
that's it.
right? I have a precept. This is Psalms uh what's it? Psalms 55 and the 21st verse. I'm gonna start from the 20th verse. He had put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant. And again, these tribes, now we're focused on Gad, they made many peace treaties with Esau, but he broke them. The fact that you're even in this land, you conquered them, and even in this example, starved out their children. Right? It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. Because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure, you know, people must have known what's happening and said, so no, actually, this is good for the greater good, whilst totally destroying people at the same time. Like, why didn't you do that to other Edomites, man? You know?
Mm.
Anyway, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, basically I was just querying the robot real quick, just to see, I said it, so how, suggest a better way right, of doing this experiment, right? And they're basically just talking about still doing it, but just asking for consent. But it was this point here, right? So prioritize improving health, not studying suffering.
Exactly.
you know. But this is that word that we go into every now and then, right at the camp, which is that word called sadist, man. Like, which is what our Esau is, because not studying suffering, right? There's how much more can we make these people suffer? You
Yep.
know, that's that's
Yep.
that's 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 the nature of this Edomite, man.
Yep. Good.
Right. So the experiments, right back in the article, says Pet oversaw a series of nutritional experiments experiments in indigenous communities. Among these was a long-term study carried out in residential schools, which used indigenous students as experiment subjects. In 47, Pet began testing different nutritional intervention on close to 1,000 children in 6 residential schools across the country. Right. It says these experiments use the baseline of malnutrition and hunger experienced by indigenous children in the schools as a way to test a whole bunch of both interventions and non-interventions, explained Mosby. These experiments included some children who were known to be malnourished receiving no change to their diets in order to act as controls in the experiment. This one intervention included testing an experimental fortified flour mixture, right, on residential school students. There was a federal ban on fortified flour at the time, and there was debate over whether or
So you
not to
see,
utilize
you
that.
see, you see how he's the devil, yeah? Fortified is basically pumped with artificial vitamins.
Mm,
And all these food foods and all these stuff we have now are fortified.
yeah.
Like if you like, even though what I mean, I don't eat any cereal or whatever, but if you ever go past in a shop and you see any cereal, if it says it's added B12, that 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 means it's been fortified.
Hmm.
You know, they've included shit in there because they stripped it out. You know,
Yeah, but these times, once again, you're supposed to just eat.
exactly.
You know, you're supposed to just eat, but what the earth shall not yield its strength or something like that.
Yep, yep.
Right, that's the world that we live in
No
today,
curse.
man.
Hmm.
This is a curse, man.
Hmm.
Right, and the EE is perpetuating by not. What is it? In fact, let me grab that real quick. This is Isaiah 24:5.
Hmm.
Says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have
Hmm.
transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Right? Which
Hmm.
things is, look, man, land Sabbath, let the place rest. But what does
Hmm.
Esau do? Again, that's the thing. It's like when you look at when the scripture says in Genesis, and they saw it was good,
Yep.
it's
It
true.
means that.
It means that because weeds provide a really important service to the earth, right? Because
Yep.
weeds have long roots, right, and they're bringing up nutrients from deeper underground. So really, when you're seeing weeds, that's basically your land saying, "Yeah, man, I'm through right now." Okay,
Exactly.
but what does Esau
Exactly.
do? He puts on weed killer, right? He puts on this, he does this, that, and the other. And then guess what? The back
Pesticides.
end of it is, yeah, and the back end of it is, oh, yeah, he's a carcinogenic. Oops,
Yep.
you know,
Yep. He's a devil, bro.
that's it.
Right?
So back here, right, which this makes me even just reading this makes me think that this was paid for by big agro,
Of course. Of course.
you know?
Yep.
So it says PET and the researchers found increased incidence of anemia among students who were fed the experimental flour, right? So the federal government's largest social experiment, the nutritional experiments were part of a large series of investigations, in quotes, into the diets of indigenous people during this period. What Mosby described as a federal government social experiment to transform people's diets is right. It says a justification for these experiments, explained Mosby, was a theory going around among scientists and bureaucrats that the so-called Indian problem, right, in quotes, might have been caused by malnutrition and not due to what they saw as racial traits.
When it isn't an Indian problem, you're the problem.
Hmm.
You're the problem. You know what I'm saying? You're the problem.
It's
Right?
you.
It's you. Yep.
says they took the extremely racist idea that indigenous peoples were somehow racially inferior, and they suggested that
Bingo, bingo. Yeah, good.
and they suggested that might have had to do with nutrition, and so they took it upon themselves to solve this Indian problem, right? Through
Yeah, right.
expert intervention into indigenous people's diet. But you know, even just reading indigenous problem, that makes me think of what Margaret Sanger said, right? We need to solve the Negro problem or something like that.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, so once again, when they're saying this, they're, you know, really they're all trying to find out what's the best way of to kill them.
Hmm.
You know, because that's it. Esau speaks with a forked tongue. He'll be saying one thing. In fact, we read that in Isaiah? It's Psalms 55, right? His words.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, well, they drawn swords, man.
Yep. Exactly.
At the heart of this was the willful attempt.
Bro, double shot. Scroll down. I want to see how long the article is. Just read a few more points, and then for the interest of time, we, we're gonna post the other articles in
Mm,
the description because we already made the point. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
the point is the point is it speaks. Mike, we played the video of the Jake.
Hmm.
He straight up went into it.
Yep.
They starved native children even to the point of death just to experiment what minerals and vitamins you need. Right?
Yep. So let me grab this one actually, right, from the National Library of Medicine. It says, one second, let me just mute this real quick. It's not clock. It says, PubMed Central says Canada's shameful history of nutrition research on residential school children, right? The need for
Mm,
strong medical ethics and Aboriginal health research. Okay. And I wanted to, because I believe we brought that precept out earlier on, you know, shameful spewing, right? And
mm,
that's it. This is a shameful history. Okay. You know,
yep.
it's a shameful history that you know, that E tries to hide. Right? Because once again, this is just one thing, right? He's always been doing this. He's always been finding ways to, you know, try and make himself feel superior. But it's okay. It's okay because hey, look, man, you're gonna have Israelites with spiritual power, right?
Mm,
You know, that
of
are gonna
course.
be over you in the kingdom, man, right?
Exactly.
And we're gonna make sure that you pay for all of these things, right? Because for all this time, right? In fact, even here, look what it mentions, the Tuskegee experiments.
Hmm.
You know,
Exactly.
all of these different things, he's not paid for,
Hmm.
right? But the Lord requires it, and you're gonna pay. You know.
Exactly. 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 Yeah. Fine, bro. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Even as children died, the experiments continued.
Hmm. Even after, yeah. You see, that's how you know Esau, man.
Hmm. But and this is the thing that pisses me off personally, you know, because he likes to champion himself as the, you know,
Minister
as
of
the
righteousness.
protector. Yeah, well, minister of righteousness, but as the protector of women and children. Yeah,
Yeah,
all
that's
throughout
true.
your history, right? You abuse women and children.
I have a precept. This is Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as thou hast white with looking glass, and thou shalt see that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take that seat, and thou at the last remember my word and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is beaten with a serpent, or such as can lay any wild beast? So that's Esau, man. I never trusted.
Mhm.
So when you do, this is what it brings, bro.
That's it.
Nothing but death on all levels. You know? but time, bro. Um, I, I, I don't know if there's a point you've seen maybe like an article that you think we can read before we go, but if not, just
Um,
post it to you in the description.
okay. Let me just read this bit because it's touching on this. In these experiments, control and treatment groups of malnourished children, right, were denied adequate nutrition. So denied adequate nutrition, right? It says in one
Mm,
experiment, right, the treatment group received supplements of riboflavin, thiamine, and/or ascorbic acid supplements to determine whether these mitigated the problems. They did not. In another, children were given a flour mix containing added thiamine, riboflavin, and niacin and bone meal. So rather than improving nutrition, the children became more anemic, likely contributing to more deaths and certainly impacting development.
and the crazy thing is because the food now, because the thiamine is vitamin B1, ribo flavin, I believe, is vitamin B2, niacin is vitamin B3, and ascorbic acid is a artificial version of vitamin C, which is made by fermenting corn. So if you basically if you have any vitamin C product that's just from a white powder, it's made from fermenting corn. But
Mhm.
even so, these vitamins. So let's take B1 and B2, B3. All these, which is thiamine, riboflavin, and niacin. These are all in red meat. You know, well,
Mm.
especially in red meat. You know, and obviously you got nutritional yeast and bruise yeast and all that. But guess what? If you mention it, it's always gonna come against you. Vitamin C is everywhere, really. But guess what? You still rather have you taking supplements. And it's like now, okay, again, because the food is enriched on a crazy level, there are many people who are suffering the effects of these artificial chemicals in our food.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Can I grab this? I remember, I
Yeah.
believe you mentioned it before about basically like synthetic versus
Yeah.
like
Yeah. 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 That's exactly it.
natural. Yeah, you see there it says pure commercial vitamin C, ascorbic acid, typical color and rings of ascorbic acid, no biological activity. Right, it
Yes.
says tropical cherry natural vitamin C, jagged border and strong
You
radiation,
see?
indicative of natural factors and vitamin and mineral activity.
Now spiritual because when I mentioned that point, I was actually thinking about vitamin C, and the spirit had you go and look it up. You know what I
Uh,
mean? Uh,
and
And it's
it's funny,
interesting.
it even looks like an orange, like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
section of an orange, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's funny because that 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 herb that is quoted from, you know what I mean. I mean, I have it.
Mm,
I actually have it. The powder is expensive, but one like a teaspoon of it is like almost 20 times your daily recommended amount of vitamin C, right? And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's from a natural fruit, you know? It, you know what I mean? It's actually, you know what I mean, a cherry that you can actually eat, man. You see? But again, so it's deep because as you see, the one on the right's got life, whereas the one on the left has death, you know?
that's it.
But, yeah, okay, bro.
Yeah, that was all I was going to get on that one. So is there more
Uh,
here? Yeah. Real quick. So it says rather than improve nutrition, the children became more anemic. It says in these experiments, efforts were made to control as many factors as possible, even when
mhm,
they harmed the research subjects. For
mm,
example, previously available dental care was denied in some settings because the researchers wanted to observe the state of dental caries and gingivitis with malnutrition.
mm, mm. All that to say, this is why Esau got to take it down, and this is why he's the devil. You know,
That's right.
that's it. So yeah, man, bro, if you can get like a last scripture. Well, then we're gonna close that
Yeah, let me see if let me grab something from the
comment board.
comment board. Yeah. Let me grab this from Malachi, right? So this is rather not from Malachi. This is Psalms 50 and 16. It says, "But unto the wicked the Most High saith, What hast thou to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instruction and cast my words behind thee? When thou sawest a thief, then thou consentest with him, and hast been partaker with adulterers." Right? Thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. Right? And what what we've been seeing and reading in this article here, right, is just straight up evil and deceit, right? Goes on to say, "Thou sittest and slander and speaks against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son." Right? "These things hast thou done, and thou kept silence. Though thou thoughtest that I was altogether such an one as thyself, right? But I'll reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes." Right? And I love that one because it's like, that bit where it says, "Thou thoughtest thou was altogether such an one as thyself." Right? We read the precept in Ecclesiastes earlier on, right, about sentence against an evil work. He thinks he's run away.
Yeah. When he doesn't know, it's only a matter of time.
That's it.
It's only a matter of time. That's it. So yeah, man, we just wanted to get into some points of more dark history exposing Esau. And yeah, man, until next time, we're gonna say all praises be to Yahweh Bashem,
Hashem Yahushai, Hashem Kakadash.
Double honor to the apostles there was a great millstone.
Double honors.
Shalom unto the elect.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.